Hello, it's Aake. Today we are checking Theranos case, and for me personally, Theranos case was really amazing and mind-blowing.
We start off with that bombshell at Theranos.
Raising more than $700 million from investors through an elaborate years-long fraud. They're saying that they exaggerated or made false statements about the company's technology, business, and financial performance.
The Theranos case was completely bonkers, but it also teaches you how well-crafted image, a great story, and wonderful storytelling will get you so far, even if you have no actual technology or no substance in your business. It's crazy.
Holmes went from being CEO of a company valued at $9 billion to posting a $500,000 bond and surrendering her passport today.
You had deception, big money, billions of dollars, investors, front covers, Hollywood.
I'm talking about Theranos. That's the diagnostics company with the ultra-fast finger prick blood testing technology that's aiming to upend the entire traditional healthcare establishment by making it easier, less expensive, and much less uncomfortable for you to get tested for a whole range of conditions.
Theranos' big idea was to replace traditional venous blood draws in a doctor's office, hospital, or lab with simple finger pricks.
The biggest problem was going live with blood tests that didn't work or that worked only part of the time.
It's crazy how this rolls out.
Don't worry about the future, we're in good hands.
Step by step, going too far from the moral place to something that's so immoral and crazy.
After a rapid rise to the top of the tech world, Elizabeth Holmes has fallen into FBI's hands tonight.
Even though the Theranos whole concept was immoral, they did not have any technology at any point. They did not disclose the technology for the investors. Nobody knew that they did not have anything.
Companies like Walgreens buying in without doing due diligence.
But it's a great story. Elizabeth Holmes, inarguably, was a great storyteller with the deception. It's also a story about fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out on the Theranos technology.
But Cleveland Clinic, Walgreens, so many of the other partners that we have seen our technology, they've worked with us, they've used our systems, and they understand what we're doing.
This is actually one of the craziest parts of the story is Walgreens did not do really any due diligence.
You have investors buying in without really understanding what's going on. You talk about how the first chief financial officer was like, I don't really understand this and it doesn't seem to be working, but I guess it does.
Fear of missing out drove Walgreens amazingly to ignore its own consultant.
It's just so mental that you can deceive people, even the smartest of the people, venture capitalists, over a decade and fool the regulators and fool the customers or common people and still be in the front cover.
Pathological liar.
And telling blatant lies on any forums when you are getting exposed. It's crazy.
This is what happens when you work to change things. And first they think you're crazy, then they fight you, and then all of a sudden you change the world. And I have to say, I personally was shocked to see that the journal would publish something like this.
A global and long-term failure of the quality control program, and demanding they get their act together.
Investigate every aspect of this and ensure that we meet the quality standards that we hold ourselves to, and I know they're doing that.
With Carreyrou's reporting turning up one revelation after another and regulators finally cracking down, Holmes's public demeanor shifted.
I feel devastated that we did not catch and fix these issues faster.
Just like she played the press, she really played regulators.
She was all American blonde that you wanted to be successful. It's kind of like a Hollywood movie plot. And she looked like an entrepreneur, she looked like a scientist, and she gave the story that people wanted to believe in.
Elizabeth Holmes was everything Silicon Valley and the media could hope for. A brilliant young female entrepreneur.
Elizabeth had a way of talking about the Theranos story in exactly the way you'd want things to happen if you were making a movie about a company that was going to completely change the diagnostics industry. But the SEC says that when Theranos was claiming that it had $100 million in sales, it actually only had 100,000. She was able to dodge better than almost anyone I've ever talked to.
The lab industry did a really good job of trying to seed doubt about us because we're trying to do something different, and that's what happens when you try to change things.
She would bring up a fact or an answer to you, which may not be true, but she would find the most convenient way to make it sound like what you were asking wasn't a problem, or she had the answer, or she'd really thought it through. And she would sound somewhat credible. She was pretty blatant in her willingness to say things that were probably or certainly not true, and very willing to paint a picture of herself and of Theranos that kind of fit the standard idea we have in our culture of what an entrepreneur is and what a scientist is, and took advantage by appealing to people's hopes and wishes for what might happen.
Whenever there's a quote-unquote glass ceiling, there's an iron woman right behind it.
And also her intelligence. She's a very intelligent woman.
She was this captivating figure, a young woman in Silicon Valley, dropped out of Stanford.
She wrapped them around her fingers. She made them support her and believe in her. And I think she did it in part with her intelligence. She's a very smart woman, and she did it with her charm. You know, she has these big blue eyes and she has this charisma, and they were kind of taken in.
There was something about the lure and the draw and the charisma of Elizabeth Holmes.
Elizabeth was an incredibly smart, charismatic, charming young woman.
People don't even know that they have a basic human right to be able to get access to information about themselves and their own bodies.
Her eyes are part of her magic spell. They're part of her charisma. She seems to be able to look at people intently without blinking longer than the average human being can.
And we'd like to see a world in which every person gets access to this type of basic testing.
Her idol was Steve Jobs, and she shared this trait with him, which is that she had an ability to make people suspend disbelief. She has this reality distortion field. Turned them into these icons and these heroes, and they've become what, you know, our children aspire to be.
As a 19-year-old, how do you go about the process of convincing people that you know what you're doing and that you can pull it off? Then it's about finding people who believe in you, because the worst possible thing in the world is to have someone who doesn't believe in you backing you, because that's not going to result in a good situation. How do you make people believe in you? You know, I think you have to believe in yourself, and I think you have to have the conviction in yourself to be able to make something happen, because ultimately it's up to you. And when you have that level of conviction, you'll find the people or the resources or the tools that you need to make it happen. It may take a lot longer than you think, but it's about keeping that conviction in yourself.
She would go before a public forum and bald-faced lie again and again and again.
At the end of August, FDA did an inspection at Theranos.
Does it work?
Yes.
You're confident in that?
I am confident in that. Yeah.
Holmes's tactics of flattery and intimidation that fooled investors and the press, allowing its founder to keep up the deception for as long as she did.
If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and comment below.